It's time we give back. Sow a seed and show someone where love's at. Even if you don't give a dime, give your heart and share your time. Help somebody else in life. Give back. Let's give back.
Hello, my name is Hosea James Givan II, and welcome to this episode of Ignite, Empower, Transform, where we showcase urban superheroes in New York City and around the world. Today, we have a very special guest, one of my dear friends and fraternity brothers, coming all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, my man, Eric Smith.
Hey, man.
What's
Good to
happening,
see you.
brother?
It's a pleasure.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
Good. You guys gave us a Philadelphia basketball team.
Okay, you all
You
right?
guys did pretty good this year, man.
They did all right, but even though I lived there, I'm forever a Knicks fan.
All right.
That never changes.
All right. Stay loyal, bro. Stay loyal.
It doesn't change.
Stay loyal.
Doesn't change.
That's what's up. So what I'd like for you to do, brother, is share with our audience a little bit about yourself, some of your past history, and then we'll get into some of the topics that we want to discuss today.
Sure. So originally born in Flushing Hospital over in Queens. Family lived in East Elmhurst, right off Astoria Boulevard, and then moved out to Hempstead, Long Island, back in the early 60s. So back in the early 60s, moved out to Hempstead, Long Island. I'm one of four. My father unfortunately passed in 1968 as a New York City police officer. So my mother had the challenge, and she raised to it, of raising four boys and two other cousins out of Long Island, New York, and she did that successfully.
I was saying.
Went to school up in Buffalo at the State University College of Buffalo, and then came on down to Hofstra University to finish up my education. Finished up out of there in '84, and then left out of the New York City area in '86 to go on and work for a major pharmaceutical corporation. Did that for about 20 years, and then left out of there, ran my own consultancy for a short period of time, focused on leadership, development, and training. That's my passion. Then went back into corporate America, spent another 8 years working for a logistics and distribution company, and then just left out of there in April of last year to pursue my other business interests. So now I'm working for a startup construction company, heavy and civil construction in the Philadelphia area, and focused on bringing jobs to the people in the greater Philadelphia area and creating jobs.
And that's so important. In today's world, we definitely need to come up with more creative and innovative programs that train and prepare our young people for the jobs of the future. Right.
Absolutely correct.
One of the things that I want to bring to the audience's attention is the fact that this National Give Back for Kids campaign actually launched its national campaign in Philadelphia in 2012 with the support of Dr. Maurice Henderson, and we actually had a national tour that involved the Give Back song that we created. Right. So it actually was launched in Philadelphia. So this is kind of like full circle for us because we're about to embark on another phase of our program. And in the history of our organization, Philadelphia plays a very special part in our history. So you and I had conversations over the last couple of years and how we can be supportive of initiatives in Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
And how we can help to spur on some of the things that we feel ignite the community and empower the community. And so one of the things that you and I had talked about was the fact that there's an initiative out of Phillip Randolph, and that's the program that I'd like for us to touch on.
Sure. So Phillip Randolph Career and Technical High School is been in existence for a number of years now. The exact date that it came on the scene, I'm not sure, but to native Philadelphians, if they don't know it by Phillip Randolph Career and Technical High School, they know it as the Randolph Skills Center. And it's very interesting. What attracted me to the school, which sits on Henry Avenue, right off Roosevelt Boulevard in Philadelphia, and it's not too far from the Tioga section of Philadelphia. So you have a school which almost, in a lot of ways, it's almost like a lighthouse in that community because you have a lot of kids that are coming from very, very impoverished neighborhoods, and this school is giving them the opportunity to develop skills in any number of different trades. They come into the school in 9th grade, focus on their academics, and then grades 10 through 12, they can go into any number of disciplines, including the welding program, which I'm most familiar with, construction, culinary arts. There's a fire academy there. There's a dental hygiene program there. There is also an auto body, an auto repair. There is a vending repair, or actually they changed the name, it's an advanced automation repair program there. And what's really interesting, until somebody shows me something different, it's the only vending repair program in the entire country.
So when you say vending repair?
Vending machines.
As for, okay.
Yeah, vending machines,
That's
which any number of different things are done
How
with them
valuable
nowadays.
is that?
Yeah, absolutely. You go through the airport and you get an iPhone out of a vending machine.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. That's a great trade to pursue. So the creator of the program, well, not so much the creator of the program, but the one that seems to have sparked it again is a person that came to my attention watching some of the information that you shared with us. And in the second segment, we'll actually get a chance to view some of that footage. But the brother that actually kind of sparked it again, his name?
Joe Williams. Joe Williams is a graduate of Randolph High School, and I'll just refer to it as the Randolph School. Joe's a graduate of the Randolph School. He came out of there in 1985, and the thing he likes to talk about is the fact that the machinery that he learned how to weld on was old when he was going to school there. Well, when he came back, he says almost like welcome back Cotter, dating ourselves here.
Yes.
But he came back to the school.
Welcome back Cotter was a 1970s TV show. For those of you that may have never heard of it, go ahead, Fred.
So he came back to the school after many years. He graduated, went into private industry as a welder, and he did quite well in his field. But he left there because he wanted to give back to the community. So consistent with the theme of the program that
That's what we're about.
I mean, that you have been doing, and it's commendable work. So he wanted to give back, came back to the school, and I met Joe in 2013 when he was just getting the welding program going again. At the time, he only had 13 students. The good news is that Joe has gone on to build a program where he has 58 students this past year, and since 2013, of which I've been affiliated with the school, I'm on the board of directors, for the welding program. Since 2013, he has graduated 78 students through the program and counting.
That's fantastic, brother. And you know what I want to do? In our next segment, I'd like for us to take a look at the school and talk more about the program. Thank you very much. We'll be right back.
What if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Lift every voice and sing.
Michael Blake was responsible for the grassroots efforts with electing our country's first African-American president, Barack Obama. Currently, he is an assemblyman in the 79th District in the Bronx and is the vice chair for the Democratic National Committee. He is also my godfather.
Welcome back to this segment of Ignite, Empower, Transform, where we showcase urban superheroes that are impacting their communities around the world. Today we have Mr. Eric Smith, who is hailing from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. And we were just talking about the A. Phillip Randolph program. And I had the opportunity to kind of take a look at the footage that you shared with me in terms of the amazing things that Brother Williams is putting forth in that school. And I got to say, brother, I was so impressed with what I saw, and it gave me a sense of hope for what we could create. And I'm sure here in New York City and other places, those types of programs exist.
Absolutely.
But what we have to do is get our kids more interested in those programs.
Yeah, that's
right. So they can see that. I had a conversation this morning with our Saturday program with some young men who had gotten caught up in some situations on the street and got arrested,
Sure.
right? And explaining to them the importance of understanding that there are options available to them and making sure that they pursue those options, positive options, because oftentimes children gravitate to what they see or what's most familiar. So we have to begin to expand the horizons of our young people. So at this time, what I'd like to do is take a look at that clip, and then after that, we'll take a look at, or we'll have a conversation about, brief conversation about what was in that clip. Let's take a look at that clip now.
What's FCAW? What does this mean? What's this? What's this? What does this mean?
My name is Joe Williams. I'm the teacher here at A. Phillip Randolph Career and Technical High School. There was a big demand for welders when I was working in industry. There would be several times a day my phone would be ringing to hire me for other positions. So I said to myself, if it's a great demand for welders, there has to be a demand for teachers. So I called the school district one day and see if they had any positions available. And unknown to me that there were 2 positions available, one at A. Phillip Randolph and one at Swenson. And I'm a graduate from A. Phillip Randolph, so it was kind of ironic that I happened to call at the same time where there was a welding position available at A. Phillip Randolph. And from there on, I just followed through, and I became the first welding teacher here in 7 years at A. Phillip Randolph.
Okay, when I first got here 4 years ago, I wanted to open up the welding program because I saw it was closed. And as far as I know, it had been closed for 9 years. And I knew welding was an occupation that was well needed out there in the industry because the average welder is 54 years old. So we opened up the program, and I met Mr. Williams, and he was so enthusiastic about opening up and working here because the position as a welding teacher, because he had went here. And I was like, wow, that's perfect. Like, welcome back, Cotter. That's for people that, I'm telling my age now. But he was real enthusiastic. He knew what he was talking about. I talked to another welding teacher in the district, Tony Rowe, who had a well-developed program at Edison. And he said, hey, the guy knows his stuff. I said, yes, I know. We're going to hire him. So I offered him a job on the spot. And it's been working perfectly.
My name is Rafael Sanchez, and I'm a rising senior at A. Phillip Randolph Career Academy. Usually when you come home from school and you talk to your friends, you just talk about how you sat in a classroom or you took a test or something like that. And I just thought it was really interesting that I can come home and talk to my friends about how I was, using lasers and fire and stuff like that to make stuff. And I don't know, I guess the idea of making stuff really piqued my interest.
I am Jonathan Paul Bailey. I am a rising senior at Randolph Career Technical High School. A typical day in welding, we would usually come in, during the first period, we would be in our class, we would go through our books, study our blueprints, we would ask questions, and then we would go to the rest of our classes, days, and we come back to welding. That's when we go in our shop. And usually when we go in the shop, we particularly do things that we're good at or things we don't know. Or we try to learn something new every now and then, and any other type of project that Mr. Williams comes up with.
My name is Cyrus Rush, and I'm an uprising senior at A. Phillip Randolph. I came here, and welding was started the same year I started, my freshman year, but freshman, we couldn't get shops. They opened an exploratory class for welding, and I was put in it, and it's like, he's like, don't take it seriously, it's not your permanent shop, but it's just to see if you would like welding. And I kind of got into it. I learned all the blueprints, and then when you actually started welding, it got interesting, so I stayed. And welding, you go work for a job and they give you blueprints, you can build something like buildings or even smaller stuff that I guess stays around. It's not like it's consumed or destroyed. It's there and you're like, hey, I built that, with my coworkers. So I kind of like the idea.
Our teacher, Mr. Williams, he's most likely like our boss. He treats us like employees. The more he gets mad at us and pushes us because he doesn't really treat us as children, and he tries to make us strive beyond our limits to learn things that he knows will help us succeed in the future.
I think that when you're teaching someone something, you have to teach it how it really is in industry. You can't pacify or take the easy way out, because when they graduate, when they get out there in the real world, they won't be used to what you've trained them to do. So I have to train these young men exactly like it is in the real world. Yes, they're going to be grumpy old guys at work. Yes, there are going to be times you don't want to go to work. Yes, you might have to sweep the floor one day and weld in 90 degrees the next day. So I try to instill these things within my students from day one.
This is the what? GTAW. FCAW.
And I knew he would come here and do great things. He gelled with the kids. He had classroom management. That's the first thing. If you can control teenagers, that's half the battle.
It's very rare you find a welder that is certified or can do all facets of welding. And that's here in my program. Everyone here will learn stick, MIG, TIG, flux core, and blueprint reading.
And now we have ACCA from down the shipyard. We have 2 students working there presently, working at ACCA, which I think is totally, outstanding. A giant shipyard hiring 2 young men from Randolph. And I think that's just a testament to Mr. Williams on how well, his teaching ability is.
When someone comes in and sees that these young men at 16 and 17 can do this, and this gentleman is 50 or 40 some odd years old, and these guys are 16 doing what he can do or more, that is impressive to them. And that's what brings in the bigger companies and the corporations when they see what these guys can do at such a young age.
Hey, brother, that was amazing. That was amazing, man. Mm-hmm. It's so inspirational to see those types of programs in existence, man. And my hat's off to the brother Williams. I hope we get a chance to have a conversation with him, because I want to give that brother a warm embrace and just thanking him for what he's doing in your city, man. Or you're not actually in Philadelphia, you're right outside of Philly.
Yeah, but I go there enough, and I've adopted it. I will always, as you know, I will always be a New Yorker.
New York, baby.
Through and through. But
Yes,
but Philadelphia has a quiet majesty to it. And if I may, what has attracted me to the school, I'll never forget the former headmaster. The new headmaster is Dr. Michelle Burns, but the former headmaster once mentioned, particularly with the neighborhoods that the kids are coming from, these kids have a few options, and the options are very, very clear, and this will resonate with you growing up in the city. Here in New York. Option 1, they can go to a school like this and forge out a career or get the requisite education to forge and go forward with a career either academically or pick up a trade. Option 2, they can either sell or take drugs. Option 3, they can become incarcerated and be a part of the high school to prison pipeline. Option 4, they can leave out of the community in a body bag.
Sounds right, brother. That sounds right. Let's take another break, and then we'll be back and we'll close out the show. We'll be right back.
I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
Welcome back to this final segment of Ignite, Empower, Transform. My name is Hosea James Givan II, and we are here with Eric Smith. And Eric, man, this program has caused me to reflect on part of our history in terms of our fraternal history. One of the leaders of our fraternity in its early stages was a brother by the name of Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. And his position, which was kind of the concept by which our fraternity was created, was a talented 10th theory. And that talented 10th theory was that 10% of the black community would pretty much, we developed a leadership within that 10%, and they would lead the other 90%. But there was a great debate in the early 1900s between two primary black leaders at that time. It was Dr. E.B. Du Bois, as well as Booker T. Washington. And his position was that the black community needs to focus on developing trade skills and developing more valuable skills that are easily transferable. And so we kind of are now at a point where we recognize, I think, as a community, that we need to kind of embrace both concepts. What's your position? What do you feel about that?
So, so the interesting thing about that, like so many of us that came up and went to school in the late 70s, early 80s, we were pushed by our parents to do better for ourselves. So the Du Bois model, or Du Bois model, was the one that a lot of us were directed towards. And unfortunately, for a lot of folks that were looking at either a career in the vocational arts or, you know, picking up a trade, that was kind of looked down, which was kind of silly if you think about it, because you need both to build effective communities. Fast forward now to 2013 when I got involved with the Randolph School. So with the understanding that a certain segment of the population is going to be able to go on to college, college is not for everyone. And oh, by the way, college has become very, very expensive.
Absolutely.
And I would dare say ridiculously overpriced in some instances. Yeah. But to go back to this, so it becomes, all right, if the kid has the intellectual wherewithal to go on to college, then so be it. Because I'm a firm believer that if the kid's smart, you'll find a way to get the money. And there's money always available for smart kids. But let's just say the kid maybe does not have a desire to go to school. It is so expensive now, then let's take a look at some of the other options that are out there, and the trades present those. And I had to open up my mind about this. In the community where I live, so I live about 35 miles outside of Philadelphia, and anywhere between where I live, driving down to the city of Philadelphia, you can't really go too far without seeing signs up. And I'm not sure if you see it in the New York metro area as well, but people, companies looking for welders, companies looking for folks that can do work, HVAC type work, people that need plumbers. So let's go and specifically focus on welding. The average age of a welder, depending on who you speak to, it's either 54 or 58 years of age.
Is that right?
Regardless, you've got a lot of folks that are getting ready to call it a day.
Wow.
All right? So here's an opportunity with these young men that have come out of this program. They come out of the program, first of all, they can read blueprints. And here's what's interesting about that. You know, people, or if you speak to people, if you meet them and they're in the welding profession, there are not a lot of welders out there that can actually read blueprints. They know how to weld, but they don't actually know how to read blueprints. These kids are coming out, they know how to read blueprints. They have multiple certifications in the field of welding that they're going into. And here's what's also interesting. They come out of school in the very first year, they come out of high school, then go to work and make anywhere between $36,000 to $40,000, and oh, by the way, a year, and oh, by the way, they have no debt. Now, here's the part that people sleep on completely. A good welder, and we're talking about somebody that can weld, they can do stick welding, they can do MIG welding, they can do TIG welding. These are all different types of welding. And let's say they have the ability to weld underwater. These individuals that perfect those skills, they can pull down salaries that are in excess of 6 figures a year. You have some instances where they're welders, there's such a demand for them. You have companies that have like trying to attracting them with sign-off bonuses, and attracting them with companies that have like gourmet chefs on site that can cook meals because they're trying to get these welders. Well, I mean, this, you know, these are the type of opportunities that are out there.
Right.
So it's about giving the kids, these young adults, options. I'll share with I'll share with you a quick story that that you'll appreciate. There's a young lady who graduated from the program, and this young lady, she became pregnant during her junior year.
Okay.
So for you and I, we've heard this narrative many, many times. Young lady becomes pregnant, and then goes into a spiral that maybe is not as productive as it could have been. But here's the deal. She had to leave the welding program because of the fact that you don't want to be taking in the type of fumes that are created when you're welding. It's dangerous for the fetus, right? Yeah. She had to leave the program, but she said she was coming back. She comes back to the program in 12th grade. Oh, by the way, did I tell you, and I didn't mention, she was the top welder in the entire
Is that
class.
right?
She was Mr. Williams' top welder.
Wow.
She came back, finished her senior year. She went to work for SEPTA. This is the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transit Authority. And she went to work there as a welder. She was the first female to come on to SEPTA as a welder in a decade.
Wow.
She remains the only female welder there at SEPTA, and she's doing quite well. The story gets even better than that because you've got a number of kids that have done things like they come out of school and they buy a home. And the humbling part about this, they buy homes, and the humbling part about all of this is that in some instances, and actually in many instances, these kids are out and they've got a career now, and they're making more money than their parents.
Wow.
So it presents a opportunity to take advantage of the skills that they can pick up in a trade. And it gives a different pathway because if you think about it, the Du Bois or Du Bois model gives you the one side in your professional careers and people that go on into professional careers like so many of us have done. But there's something also to be said about the trades because you need both in effect to build effective communities.
Exactly.
And if we can build effective communities, I think that's consistent with all the work that is being done by the program that you have been running, within the network you started, Give Back for Kids, right?
Right.
And at the same time, building the Black community, which is critically important. For so many instances, in so many instances, our communities are blighted.
Yeah, man.
And here's an opportunity to build them back up again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can you believe that our time is up, bro?
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. I just want to say, brother, you have been a long-time friend. I've always, you're a hell of a speaker. When you present, man. I'll never forget, we were at a black tie affair, and we had the general president come in from out of town, and you were one of the MCs for the evening, and you made us all proud, brother. And just to see how you've developed as a man, as a father, I'm so proud of you, brother. And I just want you to say, man, that I thank you for being on the show. And I look forward to working with you and helping to support whatever you're doing in Philadelphia. And if you can help us get our message out as well, it's a partnership made in heaven.
You've got it.
All right, brother.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of Ignite, Empower, Transform. My name is Hosea James Givan II. And remember, if it's in your heart, do your part. Today's help equals tomorrow's hope. I love our youth. Power to the people.
I see all your smiles and all the tears showing down on your faces. But I know all the while it's gonna be okay, yes it is. Just open up your eyes. Open up your eyes. The sun is soon to shine. The sun is soon to shine. Aim your arrow high. Keep reaching for the sky. It's time we give back. Someone see and show someone where love's at. Even if you don't give a dime, give your heart and share your time. Help somebody else.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic.
Maybe he could be an outdoor cat that lives in our neighbor's yard, 3 doors down.
Mom.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.